Hello and welcome back. We're going to continue on from where we finished here. We've got our character here, and we'll look from the front, and we'll turn back on our guides, our references, and we'll turn them on here. And the next thing we want to do is just complete this area here, this sort of front face sort of palette, and then we'll see if we can work on the ear. The ear is kind of the most complicated piece left. So we tab into edit mode, and what we'll try and do is take these vertices here, and we're going to extrude them sideways. And then we're just going to take one at a time and sort of try and follow the geometry that we've already made. Now that's too big a jump. That's covering too curved an area, so we'll have to add in a loop cut here, and we'll just kind of go to there. So we might just do that now. So we'll add in an extra one there, and then we'll subdivide this. So we'll go edge subdivide, and that'll add in additional one there. So now we have to position these, so GY, and so again, this is a slightly laborious task, but quite a rewarding one though if you get it right. So this is kind of where the head sort of takes shape. We don't need to fill that in yet. We'll use the bridge edge loop to fill in most of this shortly. So again, we're going to extrude out. Now we could try and extrude more than one at a time, but in my experience that will end up causing more problems than it will solve. So again, we're just trying to bring these back. And I haven't, I just realized, turned this on, have I? There we go, start doing that so you can see what I'm actually doing. So now we'll do one more. So one. And we're trying to position these kind of on this part of the image. Obviously there's a smaller kind of area here, but we're trying to get them, you know, trying to pictorially sort of position them where we think they might align in this view. Keeping in mind that the pictures are not perfect, and they won't be perfectly aligned either, so oops. Okay, so now we can join them. So I'm going to hold down Alt and select that loop, and then Shift Alt for these ones. Now they can't be connected here at the end, so I'm going to press C for circle select and deselect the adjoining ones. And because we kind of followed the geometry, that should all very gently and very nicely kind of just fill in. So I'll do these faces individually, and then we can do the same here. So I'm going to hold down Alt and select, and then Shift Alt, select that loop. Now more have selected down here, so we'll go C, deselect them, and then deselect the two that kind of make this continuous, because it can't be continuous for the edge loop to work. And again, we can join that F. So jump back out into object mode, and you can see this is all shaded solid or shaded flat. So we'll shade it smooth, and that's not too bad. Now this isn't quite right here, so we'll come back and we'll get kind of a basic shape, and then we'll fix it a bit more. So if we go into wireframe mode here, so this ring here should actually be further back. That will give us a better look. And again, that's not correct either, but gives us slightly more definition on the eye socket. But you know, so that one shouldn't be back there, and that one. Okay, but let's not get caught up in detail because we're just kind of doing broad strokes at this stage. So if we go back to edit mode, what we want to try and do is, and we have kind of a similar kind of scenario here to what we had here, in that this is going to be too big an area to cover if we're trying to draw faces across the cheekbone here. So we'll draw, we'll go control or, so for a loop cut here, and then we're going to extrude this out, knowing that it's going to like kind of join up with some of this other geometry, and we're going to just try and reposition it so that it's more conducive to that. So we're going to try and join that and that and that, and then do the same in here. And that one. So now we want to take these ones here, these three, and again we're going to extrude and extrude again, and okay, and again we can fill these in. Now we've got 4 here that would fill in well, and then we've got quite a bit of geometry here. So in a similar way, when we had too much geometry here, now we're going to use this mesh to sculpt, so we'll end up with millions of verts with this in the future. So having 4 too many or 5 too many will seem a bit weird by comparison, but if we can make a very smooth and well structured base mesh, it'll make the sculpting and all other future kind of manipulations of it much easier. Like for example, if we want to open this mouth and put in teeth at some point in the future, having this all very simple will help us. So that was my cup of tea. So let me see what we can do here. So I'm going to take these two, I'm going to move these slightly in, and then I'm going to extend these two and that one, and do something similar here. And we're going to use a similar technique to the one we used above. So we're going to take what are 4 and press face and turn it into 2. And then that reduces the amount of geometry that we have to kind of string across the face, so that it's a bit more evenly spread out. So again, we've got this guy here. So we've got 1, 2, 3. These 2 will happily join up with that. And now we're looking at these 3 here. So I'm going to extrude them out to about there. And we're going to take these 3 here, extrude them out. And again, we're going to try and see if we can get draw a kind of curved line that allows this geometry to sort of run kind of down through the face. So we can join these up, and these, and let's see what we'll get here. So we'll take these 2 and extrude and extrude and extrude, and they should be there and there and there. So again, we can join these up. And as I said to you in class, once you have one of these sort of in a library, you won't, every time you want to make a face, you won't have to go through this process. You'll just start with this one and then sculpt it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me double check. Oops. Yeah, so that's face, and then we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, if that's not too big an area. Now, let's need to check that that works. Yeah, that works. Sometimes it's possible to get a face that sort of is very distorted. Now, this one's probably too big. It's covering a very large area, but we'll run with it for now. Okay, so now we're quite close to having that segment done, so we can extrude these out. And this guy's got quite a square kind of superhero kind of jaw, which is slightly unusual. So you can see he's quite wide here at the back. So you know, obviously everyone's face is slightly different, but that's a slightly unusual attribute. So I'm going to extrude this one to here, and we can complete that face, and that one can go there, and we can go in there. And then we'll use this one to join up to this top one here. So I might actually delete that. Now I may end up putting it back in, but so if I go 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and edge, bridge edge loop, and then taking that one, which is what I wanted to do. So this will look fine in this view, but I'll need to fix it over here. It'll be totally wrong. Okay. And okay, that's not too bad. So I'm going to go into wireframe mode here, just so I can see these verts a little bit more clearly. And so I'm just pressing G and X on this side. And okay. And this one's sort of in the hairline, so we won't worry about that too much. Okay, so I'm going to select those 2 loops. So I'm going to get rid of, oops, so Alt and then Shift Alt. And then C, deselect those 2. And then deselect them. And if I check down here, I've got 29 selected, so it's an odd number. So that's 28. So I think that's even on both sides, and we'll find if I'm wrong, we'll get lots of triangles. Nope, that's correct. So that means that these 2 here need to be subdivided. So So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 and face, 1, 2, 3, 4 and face, and this one. Okay, so we'll save that. Again, we'll turn off our reference kind of images and we'll have a quick look. So we can see that we've got like a seam down through the middle here, which is definitely not what we want. You know, that's not looking bad at all. But before we finish up with this kind of tutorial, so we're 15 minutes in, we will have a look at maybe just making the ear. So I'm going to turn these guys back on, and I don't really need any of the geometry here to make the ear. I'm kind of going to make it separately, but the number of verts we have coming in here to meet the ear is important. So I'm going to go Shift D, so I'm going to duplicate them and try and use them as the starting point for my ear. So I would be, you know, making that face there, etc., kind of mapping them across. Okay, and we'll take that and just move it out a little bit. Okay, so like making an ear is difficult, so we'll do our best here and see where we can get to. So I'm not going to care too much about how many verts I use here. Just trying to map the very basic sort of shape of it, and we'll just loop that back around. I'm going to take these here and I'm going to go GX, move them out, and then see roughly where they're meant to be. And I might exaggerate it a little bit just for the sake of making my life a bit easier later on. So that's the first thing. So this bit's fairly straightforward, so I'm going to extrude them in, maybe scale them just a little bit. And again, I'm going to extrude here to try and make some of the internal shapes here. So then this is a large kind of slightly curved area. I'm going to actually, before that, I'm going to extrude in here and in here, and we'll add faces in for these bits. So I'm going to take this here, I'm going to extrude it across, scale it down a little bit, and I'm going to put a loop cut in it, Control R, and move that one up. Now there's a whole bunch of, you know, if you look online, a whole bunch of ways to do this, and this is just one way, and they all have their virtues and their pitfalls. Okay, so so I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to extrude it, and then press then I right clicked, I'm going to press S and then extrude in. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I'm also going to take this here and subdivide it. Subdivide. And that way I can complete that. And I can complete that. And I'm going to complete that one. Now, if you detect at any point that I'm making some of this up as I go along, then you are very correct in your observations. So I'm going to extrude this and scale it. I'm going to move it in on the x-axis. So I'm trying to make that kind of almost like a crease in the skin, and then I'm going to extrude it again and bring it back out a bit. Now I'm going to join these two, so I'm going to go vertex, merge at center, and now I'm going to go to wireframe so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're not too far from getting there, so I'm going to press F here and complete that square. The same here, and here, oops, and here. Okay, and now I want to fill in this bit, and this bit's a bit messy, so I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm going to do the same with this. I'm going to go E, escape, and then S, and I'm going to extrude that in a bit. And that leaves me with 4 here. Okay. Now, so I have one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one and move this to here and move that one. Oops, that one kind of down to there, and that way I can do 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will make my life a little bit easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a triangle. There's our first triangle. Okay, so let's go to the solid mode, and we will go object, shade smooth. We'll select it all, and we'll go back. If you remember, we had to fix normals before, so we went in here, and we turned on the normals, so we could see that they're in different directions. So then we went to mesh, normals, recalculate outside. Now, so I'm missing a few things here. So this piece here in the top left of the ear, I have no sort of recess here, so I'm going to go Control or, and yeah, I can live with that. So I'm going to take these two here, actually those 3, and move that in on the x-axis. If I Control all here, I'm going to add geometry over here. Actually, I'm just going to get rid of the these normals. Turn them off. Okay. So I'm going to go G, X, and move that in. I can do a bit with that as well. Okay. And then I can connect these a little bit. Okay, so that's not too bad. We need to move some of these. So let's select that guy and that guy. And although this isn't strictly following what's there, I think it'll look better. Okay. Oops. No, let's not delete it after we've made it. So that's not great, but you know, it's better than nothing. There's lots of definition I haven't got yet, so but like I said, like with the rest of the face, it's just kind of broad strokes for now. So one of the important things with an ear is to make it sort of 3-dimensional. So excuse me, it's going to have some sort of level of depth. So I'm going to go E and X. And then I'm going to E and escape, and then S for scale. And some of this needs to be kind of basically joined back into the rest of the head when we make the rest of it. We're only going to worry for now about joining it here. Okay, so we had set ourselves up to be able to do that and that and that and that. And again, we'll select it all. We'll go mesh, normals, recalculate outside. And then just so you can see how this will work, I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to extrude them on X, nope, on Y, there we go. Just a little bit behind the ear. Okay. So I'm going to save that, turn off my reference images, and see where we have gotten to. So you can see there's plenty of problems in my ear. So we need to not fix it with that. What have I done here? Oh, done all sorts of weird things here. So I need to delete that, which means I need to delete that one. That's a little bit better. And then these guys need to come out further. So that's that guy. Yeah. Anyway, we can tidy that up. But that's roughly our starting point there. So in the next tutorial, our next video, we're going to finish off this head, and we will complete the rest of it and the back of the head, which is compared to the kind of complexity of some of the topology here is much easier to do. And then thereafter we'll be looking at when it's finished. And when I say finished, it's only started, but when we have it in a discernible kind of head shape, then what do we do next with it? And we have lots of choices. So we'll leave it there for now.